All right, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Cloud Authentication, Why Having Your Own Virtual Private Cloud Matters, brought to you by Axiad. So my name is Jessica Pham, and I will be moderating today's discussion with Axiad's CEO and co-founder, Bassam Al-Khalidi. Before we dive in, I'd just like to get a couple of housekeeping announcements out of the way. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them through the questions icon to your right. Also, if you experience any technical difficulties throughout the webinar, you can click the support icon in the lower right corner of your screen, and the Bright Talk team will help you out there. So without further ado, I'll pass this off to Bassam to get us started.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. Wanted to go quickly through on a quick overview on who is Axiad and who we are and what we do. Company was started back between myself and my co-founder Eve back in 2010. We're headquartered here in Santa Clara, California, with offices in Canada and India. And really, we're just trying to enable trust in a passwordless digital world. Who we serve, we have companies and customers all over different verticals, whether it's healthcare, pharmaceutical, energy, finance, and government. We're really trying to simplify to find the perfect intersect between usability and security to allow you to do kind of to interact securely between all your different entities, all your different compliance needs, so that you can find that perfect balance. Today, we're going to really kind of focus on one element, which is we're moving to the cloud, as Jessica mentioned. So there's a lot of questions that we get from our current customer base and partner base, and we wanted to highlight a few of those questions today. So these are some of the top questions we get when we start discussing cloud security, cloud migration, and we'll just go through a few of them we've selected for you as part of the series, as part of this webinar. So the first one is, well, how is my data secured? Today, I have all my information, all my data in my own data center, and I kind of control that. And now my data is going to the cloud. Well, where is it going and how is it secured? Then the other top question we get, well, it's going to the cloud. It's going into, is it a dedicated environment? Is it a mutualized platform? And what does it look like? Where is my data? That's a great question when we start to talk about hosted platforms or data, moving the data into the cloud. Where is the data? Where is it residing? Where is it hosted? And if it's replicated, where is it replicated? Is it replicated here within the United States only? Is it replicated outside? If it's outside the US, well, where is it replicated and how? What new risks what new risks are we going to be inheriting by moving our applications to the cloud and our security to the cloud? And there's a lot of new risks by doing so, and we want to kind of high level talk about those today. And then, well, now that their applications have moved to the cloud, well, will third party, other than the vendor, are they outsourcing anything, or is there a third party that also has access to my environment? And if they do, what is the level of access, and how do they do it? And how are we protecting all this information from unauthorized access? If there's any connectivity to my directory, whether it's on-prem or cloud, how are these credentials stored, who has access to them, and how are they being secured? Support. Who's providing support now that this application has gone from within my premise, from within my help desk team and my own team doing support? Now it's going to a cloud application. Well, who's doing the support? Is it outsourced to a third party? Again, all the same questions. What kind of access do they have? And how do we safeguard around all that? So with all these questions, it's interesting, especially in today's world and what we see from a lot of the breaches and hacks that are happening. We want to iterate this question. Well, how can we move to the cloud without inheriting new risks? Is it possible? What should I look for? What questions should I ask the potential vendor that could be providing that kind of security or that kind of option for my environment? So we talked about some of the pain points, and you can see on the left-hand side. From an Axiad perspective, when we started Axiad, this is the core question that we wanted to answer, is how can we bring maximum security with maximum usability at the same time? We did not want to sacrifice either. So the first thing we looked at is, well, if we're going to ask companies to move their keys to the kingdom to the cloud, how can we do it in a secure way? And being part of a mutualized environment, that means having multiple entities or multiple customers on the same platform has a lot of inherited risk in there. Of course, you'll hear from a lot of vendors that they're doing software, they're segregating different companies with software solutions and all that exciting stuff, but still there's that inherited risk. So what is a good way to eliminate that inherited risk? So let's look at some of the pain points and some of the questions that we wanted to answer today on this one. How's my data secured? Is it in a mutualized platform? As I mentioned, from an Axiad perspective, we believe that everyone should get their own virtual private cloud, kind of a dedicated environment to them. Where is my data? Is my data replicated or hosted outside the United States? Again, for our US customers, all your data is hosted here within the United States. Our primary is in AWS US East and our backup is in AWS West. The data is never replicated or shared outside of the United States within the hosting from the hosting perspective. So now that we talked about, okay, so it is hosted in a secure zone, it is hosted and dedicated for my needs and only for my needs, which is which is fantastic. But then, how do we ensure that how do we ensure that only the right people have access to it? How do we ensure that the data itself within the cloud is also secure? So with that, first thing we looked at, well, how can we ensure that the keys to the kingdom are secured? So the first thing we looked at is, well, we're going to store all key material in hardware HSMs that are FIPS 140-2 level 2. That's a key important point because these are like big security vaults. So we can make sure that we can put in secure objects or secure keys into that hardware security module to safeguard key material. Then from there, we're providing 3 services: our credential management, our authentication service, and our public key infrastructure, or PKI as a service. Let's look at the next level of questions. So we kind of answered the first question that this is a dedicated, secure, lockdown environment. Now the next one, well, who will have access to my environment? How do we ensure that any third party does not have access to my dedicated virtual private cloud? Again, purely because this is an environment that's dedicated to the entity, the only parties that can access this virtual cloud should be 2 parties. One, yourself, because this is your dedicated environment, you need to authenticate to it. 2, the Axiad DevOps team that's authenticating to it to do software upgrades or to do key help desk or key functionality from an improvement side. But that's it. There's no other third party that it's allowed access to it. So now we're really limiting access to who can access this environment from either yourself, because this is, as I mentioned, dedicated for you, and from the other side, which is the Axiad team that's doing the carrying and feeding for the backend service and services. How do we safeguard applications that we are connecting to? So we have a few ways, and we'll talk about it in more detail on how do we have secure access between that dedicated virtual private cloud and the on-prem applications or the on-prem endpoints. And we do it in a couple of different ways. We'll address both of them in slides that are coming up. But one of them, we can actually have a site-to-site IPsec VPN if required. And what that does now, it eliminates any unauthorized access, as only access can happen within the environment of the client. Any outside access would not be allowed. Another pain point that we see when you're going to the cloud, well, who's providing support? Is it outsourced? So from an Axiad perspective, we believe that support should be done by the 2 entities. It should be done by yourselves, because this is your applications that you need to secure, and it's your team that you're providing help desk to. And it should be by Axiad to provide the help desk and support for the backend applications or for the servers themselves. But no other third party should be allowed into that same platform unless it's authorized by the client themselves. From the Axiad perspective, we don't outsource our support in any shape or form. It's all done by Axiad team members, and there's no third party that has access to the dedicated virtual private cloud for each entity.
To watch the full video, click the link below to our Bright Talk channel. For more Axiad content, click subscribe.